morning and welcome back to 501c TV. I'm your host, Janelle Harris, and this is the podcast that talks to system change leaders, thought leaders, nonprofits, and nonprofit partners to find out what is new and exciting in the world of nonprofits. And this morning, I am very excited to have with me Karen Hilo with Hannah's Home of South Florida. Good morning.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have you here. We have a lot to cover today, and you are heading this amazing organization, Hannah's Home of South Florida. So first and foremost, though, tell me how you came to be sitting here with Hannah's Home, because you have a really interesting background. You didn't start out in nonprofits.
No, okay. I did not start out in nonprofits.
Tell me a little bit about how did Karen get here?
Oh, gosh.
Where do we start?
Yes. Well, where do we start? I think I'll start with the fact that I just told someone recently that I've been accused of, it doesn't always feel like a compliment, but jack of all trades.
Okay, awesome.
So I think a lot of my background from the very beginning, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to have my own business. Awesome. And so I started positioning myself where I learned different facets of the business. Mm-hmm. I started out in banking. Cool. Learned how to read financials, was in the financial department that did commercial credit for a while. So I really studied businesses for about 2 years. Yep. And then I left that and taught myself accounting and became ultimately a chief financial officer. There's a lot there that takes me to that point, but became a chief financial officer. Cool. Had my MBA in the middle of that, and had a half a master's in mental health counseling and decided I was going to be crying all the time. And just probably that was not the exact thing I should be in. But it does speak to the side of me who really does care about nonprofits and what their mission is. So ultimately, the first time I had a position with a nonprofit, it was with a major turnaround. I went into an organization that was telling me that they were having $1 million operating losses for the last 5 years.
Gotcha.
And at that point, it was my MBA and that CFO in me that was really operating. But I feel like I got a second MBA there. It was such an opportunity because of the board. They were so rich in expertise and knowledge and so generous with me in sharing. It was amazing. And we turned that organization around, and then somehow that kind of became my thing. Yeah. And that's really grueling work.
I know.
But it was my thing, and I discovered that even at moments where I was just feeling the crushing weight of it, that I realized the only thing I had that maybe someone else didn't have was the courage to keep going on. I mean, it just had to keep digging deeper, because a lot of times I felt completely lost in how to get ourselves out of this condition.
Right.
So in a kind of a God joke, he had me as a CEO of a mental health agency that was near bankruptcy and needed to be turned around. I was like, oh my gosh, I purposely did not finish that mental health counseling degree. So I didn't have to do this. And so now you're going to have me use my MBA at the same place. So there was enough of a distance that I wasn't crying every day, but I was serving, and we did get ourselves out of that position. So just found myself in these repeat jobs.
Yeah, well, I mean, with the expertise, especially of the financial background, as you know, that's like the backbone of so many nonprofits. So I think, to have that skill set is huge.
Well, it's so interesting. I'm sure in all the interviews you've done, you can always pick up the heart that's behind it. And I have been, especially in turnarounds, I have been accused of being all business, and yet the business is the reason I'm here. Absolutely. Is because it's kind of broken right now.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. I mean, if you don't have the business, there won't be a mission.
Yes, you're a business owner. You know that.
Yeah,
if you don't have that foundation in place, then there is no strength behind what your real mission is.
Yeah, and that's the sad part of it. You can't have one without the other.
That's
to have a healthy mix. So I think that's really cool. Like what an amazing kind of background that kind of led you to this place that you are. So tell me about Hannah's Home. And is Hannah's Home of South Florida, are there more Hannah's Homes?
So Hannah's Home was started by our founder, Carol Beresford, and she lived in Ohio.
Okay.
She started it in Ohio.
That's cool.
She started one in Ohio. And her husband is a pastor, and after several years of her running the Mentor Ohio one, he got a job down in Tequesta.
Got it.
And so they moved, and for a while she did work with the team up there on the board, and then ultimately decided to convey it to them.
Gotcha.
So while I just was on the phone with the executive director yesterday, because we have monthly calls. They're wonderful. We work with them well. They've been a big help to me as I've tried to onboard myself.
Yeah.
But it started there, and now in 2012 we opened this one, and
Awesome.
It's just been growing. It started out with a home that served 4 homeless. I say at risk, and I've tried to deny they're homeless, but they truly are. They're homeless single women who are pregnant when they come to us.
And are they teens only, or they could just be?
The original age range was 18 to 25.
Okay.
We have
So young
since
women.
We have since raised it to about 30 because we want to stay open. We want to, and I say open, I mean open-minded.
Yeah.
And we always try to balance is, as you can imagine, and some pregnancy homes do this, if we took that cap off completely, imagine having like a 19-year-old in there with a 40-year-old person in there. They've experienced different things by the time you're 40 years old. And so it's really important to us to manage the culture so that everyone feels safe, they feel known, they feel like they belong. So we are still in that 18 to 30 range.
Okay. Awesome.
So once we started this one down here and had those four residents, the program started to expand. They added for 4 more, so we have 8 dorm rooms now.
Okay.
We added a child care center.
You know, it's interesting. So they have an awesome website, by the way. So I want to put your website up here so everyone can go there. And when I was checking it out, the one thing that stood out to me was these homes that you have, the actual buildings. They're beautiful.
Mm-hmm. They are beautiful.
I was like, it's got like a Key West vibe. I was like, this is so beautiful. And that was, I don't know what I was expecting. Like maybe more of like just a standard kind of apartment building that I was looking for when I went on there, but the pictures that you have on there are beautiful. So that's really cool. And you guys have done a lot of expansion, or in plans to do more, right?
Yeah. So we also, a couple of years ago, we added a chapel. That was part of Carol's vision.
So cool.
So we have this cute like 1,200 square foot chapel on the property that we have services once a month. And then the expansion plans are phenomenal. Yep. They have 4 duplexes, same thing, Key West style.
Yes, I was like, these are so cool.
And then so there will be 8 more women there,
Okay.
and then a dormitory that will have 16 more spaces in them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So it's collectively then you could have at any time how many people?
32.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. And part of the mindset behind it is the program expansion, because I'm sure you can relate to this. Probably all of us can. If you were in college, you don't want to be, when you're a senior, you don't want to be the freshman anymore.
Understood, yes. That's
so
important.
This gives us an opportunity, once women come in and they have their babies, then we can give them another 6 weeks and then say, okay, let's give you your first experience of independence. And you can be in the dormitory, and then after you're in the dormitory for a set period, then you have the opportunity to go into one of those duplexes.
Gotcha.
So giving them more and more advanced experiences of independence while they still have the support.
So let's talk about that a little bit. So maybe take me through, what the experience would look like for somebody coming in, because I know you've got a couple different levels. There's counseling, counseling, life skills, and then what was the third one? Education.
Yeah.
So ongoing. So I think it's important for people to know what that looks like.
I've had people ask me recently about the admission process even. So even just thinking about when you go to the website, you can apply on there. We have people who call us who are case managers. We have family members who call. Most often it's the mom desperately looking for a place to stay.
Right.
So the first step is to complete an application. Then we review that application to see if we have the capabilities to meet their needs.
Sure.
We're not an inpatient rehab type of place, so we know we have some limitations. But we are able to help them if first of all, they have to be motivated, because we have a program, and we have an idea, a fairly strong idea of what the success looks like and what we'll be doing with them. So the first things we'll do is, yes, we can serve you. Yes, you are motivated. Yes, your goals align with our goals. Right. And then right out of the gate, it's case management. If you come into the program, We'll sit down with you and we'll attend immediately to the crisis because they were homeless.
Yeah.
Whatever their situation was, whether they were going from friend to friend's house, sleeping on a couch or wherever,
Yeah.
this is now, first of all, can we trust you? They don't necessarily have trusted relationships, healthy relationships in their life. So that's a really important cornerstone for us. But then case management. So those basic foundational things. And having been at a place before where I was the leader at an organization that had a shelter, this is not a shelter experience. Case management, you will get at a shelter.
Right.
So it is our first step. Do you have, well, you'll get a mental evaluation, a mental health evaluation. We'll make sure that you have all the social services. Do you have WIC? Do you have food stamps? Are you on Medicaid yet? All those things that just give them that foundation, and we get them. When's the last time have you had a prenatal appointment?
Yeah.
Because our first aim is their medical health, their physical well-being, and the baby's health.
Right.
Once that's done, we go on to, now let's talk about the program. And we have development in areas of their spirituality, life skills, their career, academics, relationships.
Cool.
Yeah, so they're going to get a full, there's a,
like all
it's
encompassing.
everything. We try to think, I mean, I don't know what the word flourishing or victorious living looks like to you. The way we used to talk about our mission, we would say that this was a loving, caring, nurturing Christian environment, which to me sounds a bit passive. It sounds like you will be secure here, which is so important. And at the same time, when these moms come, if they're, let's say, 4 months pregnant, they stay until their birth, and then the clock starts ticking. You have 2 years now. We have a lot of time with them to really help them with getting on sure footing.
Wow.
So all these things.
Okay, so I didn't realize that
Yes.
that they had that support for that full run.
Yes.
That's a long time.
It is a long time, and that's why I said it's not a shelter
Yeah,
experience, because
that's
when
really
we were at
cool.
the shelter, it was 90 days.
And
We
that's
kind
it.
of bandaged you up
Yeah.
and hoped for the best.
Yeah.
So this is entirely different, and the development that goes on is individually. I mean, it's individual.
Right.
We have people who come in and because of their upbringing, totally disrupted education.
Yeah.
They do not have their high school diploma, so we'll start there. Do you want your high school diploma? Do you want a GED?
Yeah.
And then after that, we start talking to them, and not after that, simultaneously, actually, we're talking to them about their career goals. Because we all know that they have to have a living wage.
Absolutely.
That we have to raise up their skills.
And it's really cool that, it's got to be interesting to see, like you mentioned, the age range. Somebody that's 18 or 19,
Right.
Their work experience
Right.
might look very different than
Right.
somebody that's 30,
Their
32.
work experience and their hope can be so almost extinguished.
Yeah.
So if we can keep showing them the hope we have in them,
Yeah.
then they eventually latch onto it. I mean, they had to have some modicum of hope if they said yes to this program.
Correct.
And so when they show up, there will be times where, as we say now, our mission is more like overcoming hardships, yes, but preparing you to live victoriously. That is the most of what the work is that we do.
Right, which is really cool. So what are some of the story, tell me about like somebody that sticks out in your mind that's like somebody that went through the program and then probably came back and was a success story. Like, what does that look like? That's got to be so like
It is
rewarding.
Keeping in mind that I've been there 11 months, so
Oh.
I haven't. A lot of the program changes have been happening since I've been there. But just in the residents who are there now, it's really remarkable to me. I think that people tend to imagine a different mindset for people who are disadvantaged.
Yeah.
Frankly, I was disadvantaged when I grew up. So for me, one of the biggest pieces is dignity. What
Yes.
are we going to do for these women right out of the gate so they sense that we believe they deserve dignity? So just to approach them with, what are your aspirations? What is it you hope for yourself? And if it's something like, I would like to be, I don't know, something, I don't want to name any specific thing because I don't mean to, imply anything that's not, but it's something that we believe will not be in their best interest. It might be a start, but it's not their finish.
Right.
And so how can we get you from where you are? This is what you're looking to do right now. where do you see yourself going from there? And we have someone who came in who, she's, I mean, every one of them is remarkable right now, but the one that comes into mind she comes to mind because she came in just a couple weeks before I got there.
Okay.
And her interest was becoming a physical therapy assistant. Her job was more in retail and more minimum wage.
Yep.
And yet she was pregnant. She was working hard the whole time she was pregnant. After she had her baby, she waited until an appropriate time and then went back to work. But we were talking about, you want to be a physical therapy assistant.
Right.
While she was pregnant, I made a few phone calls, and I'm telling you that our community is amazing. It really is. We had someone, I came in like 2 days later and I said, so where is this resident? And they said, oh, she's in that physical therapy office of that person that you connected her with. She's spending the day. And I was like, oh my gosh,
That's so cool.
sweet.
I know.
And she came back just beaming, and she learned something about herself from it because she had decided that maybe there was a certain type of physical therapy she wanted
Sure.
to do. And then another connections a little while later, she has a job now at Jupiter Medical Center. So she's
cool.
working her way in. And then I just had another contact with someone that said, oh my gosh, my sister's a physical therapist at Jupiter Medical Center. And now those two are connected.
Yeah.
So that kind of thing. And we had people, she's also getting, working on her college courses. And we had a resident education fund, and it got funded. And hey,
So cool.
if you get A's and B's, we are going to reimburse you for those.
Yeah.
So she's on her 4th class now since
cool.
So she's doing so much. She's working so hard, and she has really taken hold of the opportunity, and it's very satisfying.
I'm sure. And
Yeah.
as you're telling me the story, I'm thinking like, I'm wondering if, some women come in and no one's probably ever asked them, like, what are your aspirations and hopes? Like, what
Right.
do you want
Sincerely
to do?
ask
Like,
them.
sincerely
Or
ask.
said, I've had other residents say, I was told,
I-
stop
Yeah.
dreaming.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
not going
Like,
to happen.
that'll never
It's
happen
never
for you.
gonna happen for
just
you.
Squash that for them.
Yes.
And also, like, I could see like a big shift. So maybe they came in thinking like, I don't know if I could do this, and
Right.
they have somebody that's making a phone call for them and
Right.
like making taking a vested interest in them, to give them that kind of confidence that they could actually like go out and do it. So that's got to be very like rewarding to just to see and know that, like, you're helping
is.
women,
Well,
helping women.
The
I mean,
other
that's
thing
a good
too is when I say that I experienced something very similar to them, one of the things that stood out to me when I was growing up was feeling overlooked. And when I said this community's rich, I already said, I'm not talking financials, because certainly we all know that about Palm Beach County.
Yes.
But the number of people who have come out to help them. We have someone who's a career coach, like credentialed career coach. And she called up and said, does anyone there need coaching? And so 2 of our residents are getting professional career coaching.
That's awesome.
They love it. And they're so appreciative.
And that's so important too. Like, when I talk to a lot of nonprofits, I say, what's the biggest help you can get from the community? And money is always great. Like, yes, you can write a check, but like time and talent for people to like just give their time and talent to help in whatever way they can is usually, can be way more important than
and feeling
the
like to
financial.
move from that feeling overlooked to feeling connected. When I said part of what we're doing is building relationships for them, it's almost like that's not almost like it's pushing them out of the nest.
Yeah, it
and
really
saying,
is.
okay, this woman says she would love to take you to coffee, and they're like, like
build
what
that connection.
What does that mean? That means you're going to go out and have conversations and get to know someone.
Yeah.
But beyond that, we have, they get those relationships at church.
Yeah.
They get it from interacting with people who are in childcare, who are volunteers. So that's a super important, when they leave part of that victorious living, I'm sure you've experienced this, it's a social safety net.
Absolutely.
It's being able to say, I know who my go-to people are.
And maybe even with each other, I would say, like, there's somebody that's in the same circumstances as me, that I went through this together, and, now I have that person that, connects with me and understands me, which is really cool. So I love that. Tell me a little bit about some of your events too, because those are always important. You have one coming up.
No, we just had it.
Oh, you just had
it
it.
was fantastic.
The Pelican Club.
Yeah,
Tell
it
me
was
about
fantastic.
I want people to know about this so that if you don't know about it, you can come next year.
Yes, it was
really
spectacular. Cool. It was spectacular. We raised $1 million.
Are you serious?
I am.
That's amazing.
It is amazing. We had a very, and it was largely to support the expansion.
Okay.
And we're so grateful because one of the things that we don't talk about when people think about, you're building cottages in a dormitory, one of the upfront costs is bringing infrastructure from the road all the way back. And they don't say, hey, you're putting up a cottage, let's put in the infrastructure for that cottage. Yeah. They say, no, we're doing it for the whole campus.
All at once.
So that's that front-loaded cash outlay that we have. So, so we're still, we have enough money to put that infrastructure in to just about put in 2 cottages. So that's 2 duplexes. So we're really grateful for that. But
why do you think that event is so important? Because I get a lot of nonprofits in here and they have an event and, they don't raise $1 million.
Right. Well,
what's the difference? What's the recipe? I know I'm sure it's a lot of different things. And
I think having been a leader in nonprofits for a while, that the most important ingredient is authenticity, because donors get opportunities all the time. We're in season, right? We're in season right now, and they're going to get them 7 days of the week to attend. And so when they show up, they kind of already know what the formula is. They know what's going to happen when they get there. So the most important thing is that the opportunity in front of them to just speak from the heart and say what it is you do. And listen, there are going to be people who, I'm not about humans. That's not, I'm about dogs.
Exactly.
I'm about, and great.
Exactly.
Or they're specifically about homeless or hunger. And so, great. We're not there to try and, or we support our hospital that saved my child from cancer or their alma mater. So it's not really about it's just showing up authentically with what your mission is, what your heart is, what your hope is. And if that's something they sense aligns with their own personal mission, that's terrific. Yeah. And if not, we have more ambassadors in the community who understand what we do, because as you said, there's so many nonprofits.
There are, and that's the thing, and so when I think about like events or like, talking to other nonprofits that say, how do I get more support, or how do I get sponsorships? Like, how do I get the community to help me with this? What is that? And that's,
genuine relationships.
Absolutely.
Just being transparent with what it is you're doing, but also doing it really well.
Yeah.
No smoke and mirrors.
Right. Well, that's the thing.
Donors are astute business people. No smoke and mirrors.
That's awesome.
The other thing that I would say that I don't think I mentioned, which was kind of like eye-opening to me, because from the very beginning we've talked about the women at Hannah's home, and then just so happens when you walk in the front door, the entryway, my door is right there. Like, my office is right there. I hear everyone coming, going, and then directly across from me is the door to the child care.
Oh.
And that is staffed by we have a roster of like 40 volunteers who staff that. But if you go in there and look in, it is the cutest thing, because we're only serving the residents babies, and those babies get to know one another. So here comes a baby getting dropped off, and they're like clapping their hands. They're so excited to see their
here.
Yes, and they're so used to these volunteers who are just loving them and attending to them, seeing them, speaking to them directly, and connecting. They wouldn't have that if they were homeless with their mom somewhere trying to survive. And so I started talking to the board about that. Like, we have them there from 0 to 2. We don't have an early Head Start program nearby.
Right.
What would it take for us to get qualified for that? So I started pursuing it. And it looks like we're on a path to get that qualification.
That's very exciting.
It is, and it goes back to that other piece of our program, and that's teaching parenting. Right. And again, going back to that richness in our community, if no one knows about Children's Services Council, they are a special taxing district, and they manage millions of dollars, and through their programs, we get parenting programs through agencies that get that funding. So just a couple of shout outs because we love working with them. Center for Family Services, Center for Child Counseling, Early Learning Coalition. We don't have to do much other than connect with this. I don't have to have a mental health counselor on staff.
And that's huge.
That's
and
redundancy that we
Right.
don't have to have, and I couldn't possibly manage enough
Right.
a licensed mental health. They need to be around the people who have the credentials and
Correct.
they're accredited organizations. They're tops.
And I think that's a huge takeaway for like you said, for other nonprofits. Like you have to know to utilize the services and the
Yes.
departments and the other agencies that are out there that are they want to help
Yes.
you. They want to give their services.
There's this symbiotic relationship. They are
Absolutely.
happy to help us fill our need.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge takeaway because I feel like sometimes nonprofits think I have to do this all on my own. I have to figure this all on my own, and that's not the case. So I'm glad that you brought that up. I think that's really important. We're getting close to being up on time, Karen, already. Is there anything else that you want people to know about the organization, or we're going to follow you? We're going to put everything up on here.
Well, we would love that. More social media follows,
Yeah.
just so they understand. What we do is we have a wish list on our website that is always up to date of the things that we need. We always need diapers and those
that's good to know.
consumables. We
That's good
always
to know.
need those. Different sizes we post it up there. Instagram, we always post them on there.
Okay.
We have various funds and needs at times that we will post through social media. So it's the best way to stay on top of things for us. And then anyone who is of the mindset of just regularly giving, every nonprofit needs regular giving for operations. And anyone who, there's just so many ways you can help. Do you know of a grant opportunity? Please let me know. Those types of things, just all those connections that help us support one another and support the mission.
I'm excited to keep an eye on you guys, and really, when is the expansion supposed to be really done? I know that's a hard question to answer.
The whole expansion, I don't know if they have I don't believe they have a timeline, but we are working so gratefully with Hedrick Brothers.
Okay.
They're a general contractor, and so they have been you can't get personally, I don't think you can get a better company to lead this for us. So we know that the first cottages should be, at least on this time frame, they should be a ready move-in condition by September. And we have a mom who is ready for
let's
it.
go.
We are ready for her. We cannot wait to
awesome.
celebrate her move-in there.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to keep following you
Thank
guys,
you.
and I know you're newer to the organization, but certainly an expert on your background and everything that you bring to the table. So
Thank you.
we will continue to follow along and watch your expansion and all the great things that you guys are able to do. Just the growth that you've done from 4 to 32 people that you guys can help out is amazing.
It is amazing.
So very exciting, and thank you for joining me here today. It was a pleasure meeting you.
This.
So thank you again for joining us here on 501c TV. I wish we had a million more minutes to spend with Karen, but maybe we'll have you come back on and talk to us about some other topics.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us here at 501c TV. And of course, a thank you to Conda House Studios, Wellington's first and only content creation studio. And we'll see you next time on 501c TV. Thank you.
Thank you.